The second last episode of Lovecraft Country is here, and I may just have to go back in time to watch them all over again.
You've got to come back with me! Back to the future!
And also to beat the crap out of some racists. In this video, we'll be taking a deep dive into episode 9, breaking down a journey through time and what it could mean for the season finale. So get in your DeLoreans or multiverse time machines and make sure to like and subscribe. A quick disclaimer before we begin. 1, I haven't read the book, so you won't get any spoilers here for that. And 2, the show depicts instances of racial injustice and discrimination, something I'm continually educating myself on. So if I've gotten something wrong or missed something, please send me a DM or comment below. Well, Diana doesn't seem to be doing well after being cursed by Captain Lancaster. Her arm has decayed and she's turned into some coma-like Topsy and Bopsy, characters from the book Uncle Tom's Cabin, who have taken on a demonic form. Everyone's pointing fingers at how this could have happened, but the truth is no one was there for her, including her mother Hippolyta, who hasn't been seen since the end of episode 7. Atticus and Letty are also here after their encounter with a rogue Shoggoth last episode. It seems to have vanished, and they'll later tell Christina that the accident outside was the result of a gas explosion. Christina doesn't seem to know what happened. One of the theories I had last episode was that she controlled the Shoggoths. We've seen her do this before. She even aided in the birth of one, but it looks like this Shoggoth was acting on its own. Christina is brought in to help Dee at Ruby's request. Atticus initially was going to ask her to help Dee in exchange for Titus's pages, not knowing that Letty already gave them to her in exchange for her protection spell, one that will come in extremely handy in this episode. This decision, however, isn't without its consequences, as Montrose says he'll never forgive her for doing something that may kill his son.
By you handing over those pages, you might have a hand in the death of my son.
Christina goes over Dee's drawings. Dee drew a picture of the demon last episode, and it looks as though she's left several of them, recounting the events of what happened to her since nobody was around. These allow Christina to deduce that she was cursed by Captain Lancaster, and the only thing that can save her is either Lancaster himself or the Book of Names. And the Book of Names was burned in the Tulsa Massacre way back in 1921. As we saw at the end of last episode, Lancaster was severely wounded by the Shoggoth. We see he's still alive, and 2 of his men attempt putting him back together, using a spell and the body parts of a black man, but it doesn't seem to work. That's because Christina had Ruby put a special rune in his office, preventing Lancaster's regeneration. It's extra fitting that she shows up as William to watch him die, as it was Lancaster who was responsible for William's death. The only question I'm wondering here is, did Christina know this was going to happen, hence her putting the rune there far in advance? Or if it was just forward thinking. Christina tells the group that she can cast a restorative spell on Dee, but all it will do is reset the cycle. It's pretty much a band-aid fix that will buy them some time, and she agrees to do it in exchange for Atticus coming with her to Artem on the night of the autumnal equinox, the night where it's believed she'll kill Atticus to obtain immortality. In order to make this spell for Dee work, they'll need the blood of the closest relative, and since her mother Hippolyta is gone, that leaves Montrose. But Montrose may not be the father. That's why he tells Atticus that George might be his dad. Some really bad timing, since Hippolyta returns moments later after spending 200 years on Earth 504. She went through the multiverse machine to a different Earth and has returned part cyborg and with tech that can be used to fix the machine. With her help, they can go back in time, retrieve the Book of Names from 1921, and save Dee. Meanwhile, Ruby confronts Christina about her plan to kill Atticus, and to be honest, I was a bit taken aback about how okay Ruby was with Christina's plan. She basically just says make sure not to hurt Letty. We get this text message showing the observatory is in Kentucky, but a few episodes ago it said it was in Mayfield, Kansas, along with Hippolyta's map that said Kansas as well. You may have thought, what's going on here? But it's simply a production error, as showrunner Misha Green tweeted out that the observatory is in fact in Mayfield, Kentucky. Montrose isn't doing well, drinking moonshine, haunted by the voice of his father who beat him for putting a flower in his hair. One of the big aspects of this episode is the effect of intergenerational trauma, how Montrose was beaten by his father and did the same exact thing to Atticus. He'll end up telling Letty that Atticus knows about her baby because he saw it in the future, a future where he finds out he dies to Christina's spell. Hippolyta says all she needs is a motherboard for the machine to work, so she connects herself, a mother, to it using the cybernetic wrist she acquired acquired in episode 7. The plan is to retrieve the Book of Names from Atticus's mother's house and come straight back, trying not to alter time, and simultaneously avoiding one of the most violent, racist attacks ever committed on American soil, the Tulsa Massacre. An event which lasted 2 days, and a 2001 Oklahoma State Commission estimated anywhere from 75 to 300 dead, 6,000 injured, and 10,000 homeless. Tulsa at the time was known as Black Wall Street and had the wealthiest black community in the United States. It was completely wiped out in 2 days, the event largely omitted from local, state, and national history books. Atticus, Letty, and Montrose take the portal to 1921, where they dress in period clothing to fit in. You may recall 2 girls in the hallway talking about the dance being cancelled because some white folks were ku-klucking at the courthouse. This is a reference to the catalyst which started the massacre. A young black man named Dick Rowland was being held at the courthouse for an alleged assault on a white woman, an assault which never happened. The woman in question never even pressed charges, but sensational headlines like this one from the Tulsa Tribune added fuel to the fire as mobs of armed white men descended on the courthouse looking to lynch. This resulted in a group of armed black men to come to Rowland's defense, offering their help to the sheriff to defend Rowland. The moment that triggered all hell breaking loose is said to have happened when a white man demanded one of the black defenders hand over his pistol. After he refused, a shot was fired and a firefight ensued, starting what would be known as the Tulsa Massacre. We get to see downtown Tulsa and the beautiful Dreamland Theater, which featured prominently in the Watchmen series, which was probably my favorite show of last year. If you like Lovecraft, you'll love Watchmen. Plus, I have a ton of videos on it. The hotel they teleport into is the Stratford Hotel, one of the most luxurious hotels in the state, and was owned by John B. Stratford, the richest black man in Tulsa. Montrose literally relives a scene where his father tells him to pick a switch, a term for pick a stick or rod to be beaten with. We'll see him get beaten by a branch for putting a flower in his hair, and maybe this will give some context to Atticus why his dad turned out the way he did. Young George watches and does nothing, something young Dora chastises him for. You might recall in episode 1 that Atticus gets upset at George for never doing anything when Montrose beat him, so this is in line with his character. Atticus and Letty lose track of Montrose and decide to split up. Letty will get the book while Atticus goes after his father, but not before Letty acknowledges Atticus knows about the baby, saying they should name him George, which they do, as we see in Atticus's book he obtained from the future, written by his son George Freeman. Letty takes refuge in the Freeman home as mobs of angry white men burn the city down. It's here she'll meet Hattie, Atticus's great-grandmother, and convince her to hand over the Book of Names, something she's able to do in large part to knowing about the family birthmark. There's a great shot of Letty holding a gun as she watches the insanity outside, reminding me of the Malcolm X photo titled By Any Means Necessary. Hattie will give Letty the Book of Names, but it's too late for her. The fire in the home will consume her, but not Letty. She has the invulnerability spell, allowing her to survive, something we'll see on full display as she walks through the war-torn streets of downtown Tulsa, Book of Names in hand. Meanwhile, Atticus catches up with Montrose to find him watching his younger self and a boy named Thomas, a boy he couldn't be with because he was gay. Montrose tells Atticus that he cut out all these soft parts of himself to be a man. This is how he had to survive being a gay black man. Even though Atticus may not be his son, Montrose says,
I did it all and I would do it again because the only thing I ever wanted to be was your father.
George and Dora come to save Montrose but are accosted by a group of white thugs. Atticus coming to the rescue with a baseball bat to fight them off, harkening back to the Jackie Robinson imagery from his dream in episode 1. Montrose had previously told Atticus about a mysterious stranger with a baseball bat that saved them that night. Little did he know it would be Atticus, confirming that we are in a time loop. What happens now has happened before and will happen again. Sonia Sanchez's poem Catch the Fire is played as Letty prays with Hattie surrounded by actual fire. Sanchez was one of the major voices in the civil rights, women's lib, and black arts movement. Her poem encourages people to be aware of injustice. I say, where is your fire? Can't you smell it coming out of our past? Letty makes her way through the streets as an operatic requiem plays. Requiems are musical pieces sung for the souls of the dead. This particular piece was sung by renowned African-American soprano Janae Brugger, who had to record this in a makeshift studio made of blankets in her home due to the pandemic. As Montrose waits for Letty, he recounts stories of those who died, their voices silenced by history, like Dr. Jackson, the most renowned black surgeon in America, who was killed that night. Montrose, Letty, and Atticus make it back to present day, but not without Hippolyta levitating and morphing into Orithia Blue to keep the portal stable. She spits out white liquid, reminiscent of androids in the Alien universe, and her eyes gloss over white as well. This Hippolyta ain't the same Hippolyta. And that's where the episode leaves us, the group having successfully acquired the Book of Names, but Atticus still owing his presence to Christina at Artem. Now, we're not sure how Atticus will get out of this situation, but I think the key lies in Gia. As Misha Green tweeted, she'll be back, and knowing her powers, who knows what effect it will have on the spell and Christina's plan. With only one more episode left, I hope you'll join me next week for the final Lovecraft Country breakdown. Thanks for watching, make sure to like, subscribe, and share, and for more bad takes, follow me on Instagram and Twitter at ThinkStoryYT. Until next time, remember, Daddy loves you very much.